Caitlin Beard, and I'm a Democrat.
I'm Caitlin Carroll, and I'm a Republican.
And I'm Jesse Milby, and I'm a moderate.
Today's topic on Debatlin is Barack Obama. What's up with that? Here to discuss it with us is Jesse Milby, our moderate, and also a huge Barack Obama fan. So, in the spirit of Debatlin, guests first.
What would you like me to talk about?
Jesse, why are you personally a supporter of Barack Obama? What's your pitch?
My pitch is, despite everything that I disagree with the far left on, I believe that most of it doesn't really matter in terms of a president. The president's powers are bound by Congress and by the Supreme Court, and that the president serves more as a leader politically than as an actual policymaker. He can guide the process, but he can't simply impose his will on anything. And in that light, I believe that Obama is the best leader. He is the most inspirational by far. That is that's both the good and the bad, yes. But I believe that an Obama presidency could usher in a new age in Washington, similar to a Kennedy presidency in the early 60s, where people actually believed in their government, where people, the more intelligent people who, or more creative people who are so much going into the private sector now, maybe a few of them will be siphoned off into the government to solve some of the problems that we have facing us right now.
Now, I notice when in the primary season leading up to choosing our nominees and continuing now, it seems like every candidate has really campaigned on a platform of change in some capacity. What makes Barack Obama's platform of change one that you can actually believe in? I mean, after all, we've seen what happens when people get in office. What do you think about Barack Obama makes him the right person when he gets in office?
Well, for one thing, just to point out the blatant obvious, he's black. I believe that a black, I'm
Really?
dead serious.
What?
I didn't notice.
It's amazing. I know it's been well hidden in the press. I believe that a black man as president of the of the United States would open up opportunities and would just open some minds within Washington, maybe signal that things are changing a little bit. It's not the same old in the White House. It's not the same old in Washington, D.C.
But how is that different than if we had a woman president? Like, how do you think that a black male would be more inspirational than to have a woman? Because personally, I think it'd be more inspirational to have a woman.
It very well may be at some point, just not Hillary Clinton. I would ask, and this is the question that I ask most Hillary supporters, do you really think that Hillary Clinton can cross over party lines? Because I don't. I think that if a Clinton presidency would result in a packed House for representatives and Senate in 2010, and the Republicans have demonstrated over and over again that they are unwilling to work with Clinton, and she, I don't believe, has the ability to grovel to the Republicans for necessary support.
In light of some of the media disillusionment and voter disillusionment with Barack Obama that I think Kaitlin will touch on a little bit later, do you think that Barack Obama really can be the person to cross party lines? And more specifically, why? Why do you think he's the person that can continue this vision?
I do believe that he can cross party lines. He's shown it on occasion. Now, granted, he has not been in the Senate that long, only 3 years. The experience factor is Hillary's favorite thing to trot out, although I don't understand how 4 extra years can compensate for, basically 2 decades worth of public work on Obama's side. But again, I just believe that in his own mindset and in his own way of going about things, he can cross party lines to an extent. I don't believe with a modern 2-party structure that anyone is capable of complete rallying of the opposite party in anything other than an extreme crisis. And Lord willing, we won't have that in the next few years at least. But I do believe that he can do it better than Hillary and probably better than Senator McCain.
Okay. Well, excellent points. We'll get to those a little later in the discussion. But first, speaking of crossing party lines, let's talk a little bit about the Republican view of Barack Obama. Now, leading up to this election, especially in the primary process, the Republicans primarily targeted Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee. She was wearing this inevitability cloak that has since obviously been taken away from her. So now the scrutiny is really turning to Barack Obama. And there are two main issues that Republicans primarily have with Barack Obama. The first is his experience, and as Jesse Milby mentioned, and the second is his persona and the way that he's approaching his campaign. Now, in terms of his experience, Jesse mentioned that he only has 3 years in the Senate, and although he obviously has several years before that in public service, that is not necessarily private sector work, or working at a university and then working at the state level is not necessarily what it takes to become a president. Where we're seeing the lack of experience being manifested is in his lack of actual policy and his lack of specific policy statements in talking about what he'll do when he comes in office. I think from the Republican view, the truth is we don't really know when he gets in office what he'll do. A lot of his pure policy statements are very vague and very similar to the other Democrats. We don't know what makes him different. What we do know is that on some policy issues, he's really been caught in his own web. Most notably, he's been caught in several Democratic debates showing a lack of leadership or a lack of understanding in foreign policy, and specifically in talking about how he'll negotiate with other leaders around the world, especially those who are now considered enemies of America. But also when it comes to American policies, there are a couple of times where Barack Obama has backtracked and there's conflicting evidence. For example, NAFTA. Now, Barack and Hillary both said that they were very firmly against NAFTA, and they would end the North American Free Trade Agreement unless Canada and Mexico both agree to sit down for renegotiation when they get in office. Well, after saying this, a memo was leaked which revealed that a Barack Obama aide had recently met with a deputy ambassador in Canada at a Canadian embassy discussing what was going to happen if Barack Obama would get in office with the relationship between the United States and Canada. In fact, the memo said, quote, more about that his NAFTA stance was more about political posturing than a clear articulation of policy plans. Now, this means either that he's using political posturing to cover up his real intentions, or he doesn't really know what his real intentions are yet. So that's an example of those webs where Barack Obama has sort of been caught in his own ideas by being unable to articulate them clearly.